Hi, my name is Kate O'Connor, and you're watching Victory TV, where we mind your business. Today, we're talking about sales, that dirty word we hate to use but desperately need in order to grow and sustain a healthy company. But what if instead of seeing sales as something that feels false, we saw it as an opportunity to connect and tell a story? Because ultimately, our audience aren't purchasing a product, they're purchasing a story. Which is why today I am speaking to Ingrid Maynard, the sales doctor, about how you can sell a story, not a product. Thank you, Ingrid, so much for joining me today.
It's a pleasure.
So I know that you are responsible for actually coaching some of our sales team here at Victory, which is very cool. But can you tell me a little bit more about your experience?
I think my career really started when I started working for the Body Shop franchise back in the 90s. That's how old I am. While I was studying at uni, and it was the first experience I'd had where I was able to learn the art of small talk and understanding how to connect with customers. And then I was offered a role combining my degree with what they needed, which was training in sales and product. And then that led to, so I was a national sales trainer, and then that led to a role with Body Shop International as a market sales manager for Australia and Canada. But that was more working on strategy rather than, I suppose, really looking at people's skills in training. And then I came back and I sold and delivered sales training for the Australian Retailers Association, and then I went into my own business, and our whole focus was really about generating opportunities for C-level decision makers on behalf of our clients. So it meant that, first of all, I had to go and find clients for my own business and then give them to my team. But it also meant that we really refined the art of taking a complex offer to market on behalf of somebody else so that they could do more with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now, obviously, where I am. I think that you've, first of all, got to be open to them finding you in a way. Now, what I mean by that is not sitting back and doing nothing.
Okay.
But I think that, first of all, when you have a business, your clients tend to tell you who they are. Yeah. There's a natural kind of energy that directs you that certain way. Sure. And then I think the next thing I would say to businesses and people who are generating sales for businesses is to make sure that they're having conversations about the problems that their solution solves, or what that can actually enable a business to do more of, and being there. So that might be an online space like LinkedIn, or that could be Insta, or it could be Facebook even. But then I think we've got to really remember too that, the physical face-to-face catching up with people and making sure that you really look at your network. So people often think that the only people that they need to, get in front of is the decision maker, whatever that means, because I've just found that there's rarely one. But they need to be in front of people who can refer them in, because that's the easiest way of generating. Yeah,
absolutely.
It
that
really
referral,
is.
that just that one word, that CC into an email, can make or break.
Absolutely, because it's credibility, and it means that you don't have to do the hard work when you're there. It's just really a matter of making sure that what you do is fit for purpose and going to create value for that customer. But and then also just making sure that they're growing their pipeline with immediate opportunities, midterm, and then just having an appetite and a patience for just nurturing opportunity long term as well. So I think that they probably need to find their place and then become centre in that ecosystem. Oh gosh. Trust. I think it starts with connecting with people. I don't think that trust can happen. I think some people can establish trust pretty quickly, but that's over the course of perhaps many years of understanding your value and having belief in what it is that you do and really showing up to be there for the other person. I think the mistake that I've seen salespeople make is really going in to get something rather than going in to be open to what it is that the other person really needs, and being open to the fact that they might not be the best provider for that.
Right, which doesn't mean what you're selling isn't quality.
Sure.
It just means it isn't right.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely okay.
Yeah, because you need to have, I think, there needs to be a more of an abundance mentality when you're in sales, especially because not every customer is going to be right for you. You're not going to be right for every customer.
Yeah.
And then it's about being pivotal so that you can recommend another service. So, for example, there are a lot of businesses that I work with, but way before I work with them, I might recommend that they speak to somebody about fixing their culture. Or they might need to look at leadership, for example. Otherwise, anything that I do just isn't going to land anywhere.
Yeah.
I love that question because I think that shows a real understanding of what it means to really be there for somebody else.
Yeah.
And stories are a massive part of that because they're a key component to building trust. But I think the more personal the story, the better. And the more relatable the story, the better. So you might have one story that's your story, but the way that you tell that and the details that you focus on might vary depending on who you're in front of. So I think that one of the things that is important is that, first of all, there's time taken to understand your story and to put that into more of a hero's journey format, because people love to hear about the struggle but the triumph over the struggle at the end. So I think if you can formulate your story within that kind of structure, then it resonates because people want to be a part of someone's story, and so they want to be the next chapter, or they'd like to be part of that.
They want to be a part of it. They want to see themselves as the hero.
They do.
And if you don't know what the hero's journey is, by the way, you should absolutely Google it, because it's a great format to sell.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. I think it all does come down to trust. You're absolutely right. And I think that when people have a social connection or a relationship with a trusted media platform, then that, first of all, establishes that trust and that connectedness to start with. And then I think really for online sales, it's really about making it easy. So, and using AI so that you can have predictive conversations, almost like just little pop-ups like, oh, remember when you were in last, you looked at this, you might want to think about that. What else have you got to go with that? So that it's almost like a conversation, but it's visual.
Convenience is king, I feel like, in the digital world, where we have a little bit more allowance when we're face-to-face, maybe? Yeah.
That's really where there needs to be an appreciation of what else is going on in that customer's world. So very often we're coming at it from our own goals. So we want their business. So all of our contact is really about, so now, are you ready now? Are you ready now? What's happening now? And rather than thinking, okay, so what do we understand is a priority for them? And unless our product or service is number one or two, we've just got to be patient and and keep in contact with them, but try to provide value in other ways. So maybe putting them in contact with other people who are not competitors to us, but who can complement our service. Or it might be just really understanding their world and offering insights into that world, providing them with information. And then once we understand what else they're able to do, or it might even be while we're waiting for that decision maker, there might be other people in the organisation that it makes sense for us to engage with. So they might be users of our product or service, that if they're endorsers, or they might be influencers over that decision maker. So we can kind of use that time to our advantage and have a deeper relationship with the whole business rather than just that one person. Then it stops us from kind of feeling like we're not stalking that person, and not harassing that person, but having that, that constant, persistent conversation about, are you ready now? Are you ready now?
Making those touch points more substantial as well. Yeah, exactly. So you don't feel like you're kind of nagging them a little bit. Yeah. Now, we've kind of come to the end of the interview, but do you have any last words of wisdom that you'd like to tell our audience?
Yeah, I think that the final thing that I will say is that any business that invests in its people is a business that deserves to do really well. Yeah. And I think that I've certainly seen it this year, but I have been very encouraged by the types of businesses. They're usually big business, but even smaller businesses that are really starting to invest in their team's personal development and professional development, because it generates loyalty and it also gets a better outcome for customers. And people tend to stick around where they feel valued. And I think professional 100%. Development is one of those ways to express that as an owner. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and for joining our audience.
Thanks, Kate.
Thank you so
really
much.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the invitation.
Anytime. If you have any of your own questions, comments, or tips about how to sell and sell well, please include them in the comments below. That's where the most important conversations happen and where you will begin to find your community. Remember to subscribe to Victory TV, where you can find more expert interviews just like this one and where we can help you exceed the benchmark.